Welcome back to the American Dream Podcast Season 3. Now it's time to hear what Americans think of their dream. I'm your host, Ekaterina. Привет! Welcome back. You're listening to the last episode of the American Dream Podcast Season 3. And I'm here in the studio with Kevin Michaels. Welcome.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
So this episode will be focused on the contrast between American people with different financial backgrounds and lifestyles. We will talk about homelessness, its challenges, and how someone that doesn't have a shelter values the concept of the American dream. So let's begin. So me and you, Kevin, have never met before, and I will be learning about you as we speak today. So tell me, where are you originally from?
Chicago, Illinois.
Okay, and how did you end up in Springfield?
Well, my parents kind of had to move away because of the excessive property taxes up there. They located a spot in Arkansas, and that's where they lived, in Hot Springs, Arkansas. Well, Pa passed away back in 2009. It took me a couple of years, but I went down to Arkansas to be with my mom in her final days. And I was there when she passed, and when she did, I stuck around long enough to handle the legal details and things, and I bought a piece of land down there in Arkansas, about 10 acres. I have it on mortgage right now. There's nothing there. There's no house there. So my aim right now is to acquire some building materials and tools, get transportation down there to Alpena Township, and throw up a house and live there with animals. I'll probably have a milk goat and some chickens.
Oh, chickens. I love that. Okay, so, and how long have you lived in Springfield?
Only a couple of years now.
Okay. And are you currently homeless?
Well, yes, I am.
Okay. And how long have you been homeless?
Since I got here a couple of years back.
Okay. How did that happen?
Well, I was up there on my land, and I was clearing some brush. When my left arm went numb, I started feeling pins and needles going all up and down my arm, and it was numb. And I thought it was a heart attack. I called the ambulance, and they came and picked me up. I told them to take me to Harrison, Arkansas. I go to Boston Mountain Healthcare Center up there. Well, they headed that way, and they radioed ahead and said, well, no, they don't have a cardiologist on duty right now. It's nighttime, and they don't have 24-hour cardiac care. Where else would you like to go? And I didn't know of any other place, and the guy said, all right, we're going to take you to Cox in Branson. So they put me up, so they brought me up to Branson. They kept me for a couple of days, and the doctor said, no, it was not a heart attack. It could have been a pinched nerve because I have a history of disc degeneration in my spine. Well, that was, I guess, good news. But I was on the street in Branson without knowing anybody or having any place to go. And I stopped in at a senior center, and they got me a ride up here to Victory Mission. And that's where I stayed for 30 days. And after that, I was just, out on the street.
Mm-hmm. And you currently are a client at the NAMI Center.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and this is where you stay and sleep currently, or?
I can't sleep there, no.
Okay.
But in the daytime.
Okay, so what did you do before you were homeless? You mentioned a little bit about buying a land in Arkansas and living in Chicago. Did you ever plan to stay in Arkansas and start something there?
Well, I did not intend on staying when I first arrived. I was just going to, take care of my mom and try and help her out. Mm-hmm. But when she passed, well, I questioned why I would go back to Chicago. I don't own any land up there. I don't have a house. I don't have a business up there or anything like that. And I quit my job to be with my mom. So there's nothing, to draw me back to Chicago. And I like the greenery here. I like how nice and green everything is. In Chicago, they plant trees into the sidewalk, and they only get so tall before they take them out and plant them elsewhere and put smaller ones in there. So I'm looking at trees right now that are 10 stories tall, And you just don't see that sort of thing, when you live in a big city.
And you mentioned a little bit about your mother. She passed away. Do you have any other relatives?
Well, I have a sister in Chicago and a brother in San Antonio.
Mm-hmm. And do you keep in touch with them?
Loosely, yeah. We text and we talk and everything, yeah.
What do they think about your lifestyle?
I'm not sure they're exactly aware of what's going on. I don't think they know I'm on the street.
You don't want to share that with them?
Not really, no.
So would you like to go back to living in society?
Oh, sure.
Is this your goal?
Yes, that is absolutely my goal, yeah.
Mm-hmm. How do you take any steps? Do you have a plan?
Yeah, I need to raise money, so I was thinking about going with crowdfunding. I was working on a introduction to, tell the people on GoFundMe why I'm there and what my plan is and, what the problem is and what the solution is.
How do you think people who are not homeless view people who are homeless?
It's a mixed bag. I have had people come up and just hand me a $5 bill and get some breakfast, And there are others that just give you nasty looks and, So I think a lot of people are trying to be understanding, a lot of people there are just, they're just arrogant and nasty.
Mm-hmm. But honestly, that comes to everything. No matter who you are, people will look at you differently.
Yeah.
Because everyone is different. What is the hardest thing about being homeless?
On a day-to-day basis, it's the fact that you have to keep hauling all your belongings with you, Mm-hmm. I've got a roller suitcase and a backpack and a bag. And there are times when I just hate my own possessions because it's like a ball and chain. You have to just carry it every single place you go. If you leave it somewhere, it's going to get stolen, or the police will suspect, they'll say it's a suspicious package and, take it. And they just throw it in the garbage.
Anything else besides that?
Rain. The rain here is wind-driven, and it gets everywhere. It doesn't matter how tight your tent is or your tarp, you're going to get wet.
So what is the best thing that happened to you this week, Kevin?
The best thing?
Mm-hmm.
I was asked my opinion by you guys. I'd say that's the best thing that's ever happened.
Aww.
In the last month, 2 years, yeah.
That is the nicest answer ever. Nobody has ever been this enthusiastic coming to my show like you are, Kevin.
Well, I hope it can change things. I mean, there's a lot of mental illness in the homeless community, and there is also a lot of alcohol problems, and there are, quite frankly, a big drug problem. This stuff they call ice is supposed to be a replacement for methamphetamines. It's messing people up. It gets them, to the point where they're ready to commit murder.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's very, very scary.
It's nasty stuff, and people just, they don't seem to understand how they're behaving when they're high on that stuff. It's a nasty problem, and I think it's a police problem, really, because these people are very open about it. I've seen people shoot up in broad daylight in the middle of the park, and that's bad news.
Mm-hmm. Would you say that's your biggest fear right now, to become something like that? Or if not, what is? What is your biggest fear?
My biggest fear is to remain where I am right now. I got to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
I have to start living a regular life. And I'd like to do that on my 10 acres in Arkansas, like I say, a milk goat and some chickens, rabbits, dogs.
That actually connects perfectly with my next question. Where would you like to be in a year's time?
On my land in Arkansas, gathering eggs in the chicken coop and feeding the rabbits and the dogs, and I'd like a horse too.
Mm-hmm. My next question was going to be to you about the solution to homelessness. In your opinion, what can be a solution?
Affordable housing is the solution. I mean, it's great that people give, food and toe warmers and hand warmers and jackets and stuff like that. But that doesn't address the root problem. That'll keep you alive while you're on the street. The real solution is to get off the street and into an apartment or something that you can own.
You know, I've heard a lot of immigrants that come to America either come back or become homeless because America is very expensive.
Yes.
And with that being said, we're kind of guiding towards the second part of this interview about the generation of immigrants and, you know, American dream, of course. So, Kevin, how much do you know about your family tree?
I know basically where we're from.
Okay, so do you know what generation of immigrants?
Oh, I am the third.
The third generation. Okay, so where is your origin family from?
Well, I'm Irish, French, and German.
Okay, is this full mom and dad side?
Yeah, on my father's side, I'm Irish.
Okay.
He was full-blooded Irish.
How did you learn about this?
I ask questions in my family.
And do you know the reason why your family immigrated to the United States?
Because they were not here already. The whole world at that time wanted to come to the U.S.
So they were trying to achieve their American dream.
Yes.
Okay. What do you think about the American dream, Kevin?
It's obtainable. You can do it. I mean, I'm about as low down as you can get on the economic ladder. And I have hope that I'll be able to go ahead and build a house and furnish it and follow up on the things that I told you, you know, build me a chicken coop and a rabbit run. And I guess I'll have to build a stall for the horse. I have to be sturdy.
So American dreams still exist in America for both
so.
Americans and immigrants.
I believe so, yes.
Okay. And your American dream is to build a farm.
Yeah. Have a little chuck farm.
Okay. Okay. Well, you kind of answered very fast all of my 90 questions that I prepared, which I really, really like because you were really on point. And I just have one last question to you, Kevin. What does the word home means to you?
Home? Mm-hmm. Well, you know, it can mean a lot of things. It can be mechanical. It can be emotional. It can be spiritual. Mm-hmm. Now, spiritually, home is, you know, where I have my prayer room facing east to Jerusalem, of course. And that's where I study my Bible and say my prayers. Physically, home is like headquarters. It's where you run the business of your life from. You have your important papers, you have your communications, a writing desk, telephone to, you know, communicate with, you know, because life is a business. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're buying a piece of bubble gum, you're doing business. So, yeah, a home is also a place where, you know, it's a headquarters for your important financial and legal papers and your tools for just conducting your own business. And emotionally, well, that's where you want to go at the end of the day. You just want to be there, you know. This is home base. This is where I live. This is where I'm comfortable, and this is where I really do want to be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, what is home to you?
All the above. Also, the emotional part is important too. And I walk through the door, you know, I want to feel like I can go ahead and relax, and I'm at peace, and the rest of the world can grind on beyond those walls. I don't care. I'm taking a break.
That was very insightful, very deep. Thank you so much, Kevin, for visiting me today. We'll be back right after this. I'm in the studio with the TLC company developers Sam Coryell and Carol Carnes. Welcome to the show. For those listeners who don't know or might not be local, TLC Properties are all over here in the Midwest. You guys have properties in Missouri, Arkansas, and Kansas, and TLC was founded back in May of 1988. It currently manages 28 multifamily apartment communities consisting of almost 5,000 units. To me, your success story is a huge inspiration, and it sounds like an American dream for a lot of people who are interested in property investing. I have found a lot of information about the TLC development, but not a lot of information about you, Sam, and you, Carol, and the reason why you decided to go this route with investing. So I'm excited to talk about this. First things first, I want to get to know you guys a little bit better. So let's start with a simple question. Where were you born?
I was born in Paducah, Kentucky, which is in the western part of the state of Kentucky, right on the Ohio River. And I went to school at Murray State University, which is a regional university there. And I got lucky. They had a very good music program, which is what I majored in. And then I got a master's degree because I wanted to teach higher education at North Texas State University. And then I got my doctorate in vocal pedagogy and performance at the University of Colorado. So I'm an equal opportunity person when it comes to colleges and universities. Mm-hmm. And they're all three good ones, and I'm proud of that accomplishment. Then we moved here in 1986. We were living in Santa Barbara, California, which is a gorgeous place, and we loved it there. But God had other ideas, and he sent us to Springfield to teach at Evangel. And that's my last 10 years of my career, I taught at Evangel. And I retired in 96. I jokingly tell people that I needed someone to run my company for me, so I hired me because I worked cheap and I could trust myself. So
I was born actually in Michigan. I was kind of a little war baby, and it was at a time when a lot of Southerners went to Michigan because of the work opportunities, which is what my parents did. We stayed there really till I was about 2 years old, so I don't have memories of that. And then because my family thought my dad was going to be in the Army, was going to be drafted, they decided to move back to Kentucky, Western Kentucky, which where the rest of the family was, because my mother would be alone. As it turned out, my father was not drafted because of the physical deficiencies. So anyway, there I was. So I'm a Kentuckian, though. That's basically what I am.
Okay, so how did you become an investor?
Well, I was in music. I'd been in a college education for 30 years. And in about 88, as you said earlier, 8 years before I retired in 96, we started buying rental homes. And I'd been thinking about this for a long time. I got my license to sell real estate in 87. And then in May of 88, we bought 3 homes in fairly rapid succession. And then as I looked at the want ads in the newspaper, I kept seeing these ads for apartments. And I thought, well, that'd be nice to have many units on one lot, one location. So when you collected rents, you could do them all. And if you had a little maintenance, you could do it all. And so we bought a 10-unit in July of 88. And once we got into that, we decided that was the niche that we were going to pursue. So we went from there.
So when did you start investing? What pushed you?
All right. We decided we wanted to own a business. He mentions in the book that we first looked, we couldn't afford. We didn't have enough money really to do it. We looked at we wanted to open a McDonald's. And then we found a site, and then we found out, no, you had to own a McDonald's someplace else to be able to have another franchise. So, and then interestingly enough, that is where the McDonald's opened up in that little town, which is Poplar Bluff, Missouri. That's exactly where they built it, the place we had picked out, but couldn't get the franchise. Then we moved to California, and everything was so expensive. We looked and looked, and we couldn't afford it. And I went to little seminars on real estate investing. And I thought, to get this program, it's going to be several $100s. I bet I can find a book on it. And I could. Found a book which we could afford. We really didn't have a lot of money then either. We were in church work. So that was the beginning there. Started with a dream. And then when we moved to Springfield, then we could find some property that we could manage to buy. It wasn't just inaccessible. So that was it. So it starts with a dream, and I think both of us had poor parents, poor middle class, but anyway, and we wanted more for ourselves.
Now you guys have plenty of units that you own, about 5,000, like we mentioned before. And besides investment in properties, what other kind of investments do you have on your portfolio?
I have invested in the stock market, and I've had good years and bad years. Right now, it's not the best time to be in the stock market because of the volatility in the financial institutions. Banks are going out of business. So it's a little bit of a upheaval in our financial systems. Interest rates are going up, which can have an impact on us in that the cost of our borrowing money is going up. The biggest thing that hurts us, though, is the cost of construction right now. The inflation has hit construction probably since COVID had started, and it's just continued. Our cost per unit has just escalated to unbelievable costs. We're up to now, to build a single unit is over $200,000. And we're talking apartments here. Used to, you could get a pretty nice home for $200,000. So we've had to put some things on the shelf until either interest rates come down or cost goes down, one or the other. You can't have high interest and high cost all at once because it just doesn't work.
So you're mostly focusing on investing in properties. You've never been interested in investing in something else besides properties.
Right. In the stock market, I've been in that. I also own some stock in a bank locally. We've been banking with them for 20 years and had an opportunity to buy some stock, and I did, and it's done well. And
do you have a favorite property?
Yes, I guess I do. Although you always go back to your first one, and then your first one that you built, your first little fourplex that you built, which was a big deal for us. But right now, it would be the Abbey right now, just because I love that property. It's built in a circle. It's kind of a city landmark. In fact, if you pull a Google map up, you'll see it on there, but you can actually see that.
And so where is it located? It's
located actually just a block away from Battlefield Mall, just south of that.
Okay, so it's here in Springfield.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So how did you educate yourself in the property and in the investment?
Well, during the time where I decided to do this, which was probably about 1977, the time I actually did it, which was 10 years, I just read a lot. And it's interesting, I didn't necessarily read books on real estate. I read books on self-improvement. Because what I discovered that to be successful, you have to perhaps change yourself. I know I did. I had to change my personality. And to make it understandable, I would say that I was a glass is half empty kind of a person. In other words, I was more negative maybe. And well, by the time I started this company, I was a glass is half full person.
I always have a lot of books that I have started, either the print or then just the audio books too. I do those both. Yes, I read a lot. Articles, books, just a lot.
So what would you recommend to someone who is looking to start passively investing?
As far as real estate is concerned, right now is a difficult time because the economy is uncertain. And then real estate prices have gone up tremendously in the last year or two. So I would be very careful. I'm not going to say it can't be done, but I'd be very careful. And I would learn a lot about what I could afford. You know, what if this is going to be an investment, how is it going to pay off? If I buy it, can I get enough rent for it, for instance? Now, you may not even be there. Your first investment for most people is buying your own home. And then from that, as we did, then that home can become a rental as time goes on. So that's really, for a lot of people, that's the starting point.
So, okay, speaking of educating yourself and educating others, you mentioned a little bit about your books, and here I am holding those. And first of all, of course, I want to thank you for sending those to me, and I cannot wait to read those because me and my mom actually moved here with a little bit of money and planning to start investing. Well, we already are investing in properties. We like flip houses a little bit
that's great.
and then resell them. So that's what we're trying to do. But the question I was dying to ask you, ever since I received those books, is not even that serious of a question. Are those your hands on the cover?
They are not my hands. Now, I was a conductor, and I did have a baton, but no, those are not my hands. Now, that property that's being held by the conductor's left hand, that is one of ours.
And so is this one?
That is not.
No, not a first edition.
No.
Okay.
But in the second edition, that is actually one of our properties. It's called Veranda Vistas. It's a senior living. And the seniors that lived there that got this book, they said, "Oh, I'm so glad that where I live is on the front of your book." So,
Did you design this?
no, I had a lot of help.
Okay.
And we did make some changes, as you can see. In the second edition, we changed colors to more of our colors. Our colors are more the blues and the yellows. Our logo has a sunrise in it. TLC's logo has a sunrise.
Yes. So let's talk a little bit about the book, Sam. Why did you decide to write a book about?
Well, it's really interesting. Now about a dozen or so years ago, my oldest son, Sam M., was talking to me. And you know how your sons can say things sometimes that come across a little awkward. And he said, "Dad, I've just been thinking about something." I said, "What's that, son?" He said, "Well, when you're gone, everything you know will be gone. Why don't you write it all down?" So I did.
So it was your son's idea.
Well, and then the other thing that happens is, like most people, you had some questions. Well, how did you go from teaching music to doing real estate? And that's a logical question. And so I thought, well, I think I'll just put it down on paper so that when people ask me, I can say, well, I wrote a book, and I'll be happy to give you one.
Yeah. So, Sam, where can people find to purchase this book, or how can people get to this book?
It is on Amazon. They can get it on Amazon. And also there is an ebook, which is less expensive. I think it's only $6, and they can get the ebook. And then in about 2 weeks, we will have an audio book available.
And your book is called From Maestro to a Magnate.
Magnate. Now, in case people don't know that word, and a lot of people don't, they think it's magnet.
Yes.
But it's magnate was a word that was used quite commonly about 150 years ago, and it usually referred to people in the railroad business. But it does mean someone who is in a business and they've done well. And, it's degrees.
Yeah, so it's not a magnet
that
you have on your fridge.
It's a magnate.
Yes.
And it's a little bit of a stretch, but I liked how it sounded with Maestro.
So, as I have mentioned in other episodes, this season of the American Dream podcast is focused on how people with different backgrounds face the concept of the American Dream. And I think that there are two sides to each coin, and no one knows what might happen to us tomorrow. One day you're a successful investor, and then the next day you go to, let's say, Las Vegas and you lose it all. So I wanted this episode not only to focus on the successful part of the American Dream, but also to address something important. I thought it would be interesting to hear your perspective on the topic of homelessness, as well as the American Dream, as a person who owns multiple homes.
I am not an expert on homelessness per se. I mean, there are sometimes people fall into difficult financial times, either through loss of a job, through sickness, and they lose their homes. And so that's one kind of homelessness. That's a temporary type thing. That is just something you go through. You either live with relatives, or you, in some cases, people actually live in their cars then. I understand that. But it's temporary. And then there's the case of homelessness for people who choose that either because of personal problems or just maybe emotional difficulties, and sometimes because of addictions. So there are those, and they're pretty much chronic homeless people. So I'm not an expert on that. And for what we have done is try to provide good housing for middle-income people, mostly middle-income people. When we first started out, we sort of had our little motto was affordable luxury, with probably the emphasis on affordable. And we still do that. We have a variety, so that we have some that are a little more upscale, but then some that are as middle of the road as we can afford to be, without going into really some of the class properties that we might not want to be involved in. So we love providing good homes for people that they can enjoy. We try to provide amenities. We try to provide a culture in our properties where people know that they're valued and that it is a home for them. And we understand that, and that we want to provide the kind of service that they need to feel very comfortable. A safe environment, an environment where their needs are met, their maintenance needs are met, the kind of environment where they know from the staff that they deal with that they are valued and that we appreciate them. And, one of our sayings is that, without our residents, we wouldn't have a job. Therefore, we're going to be friendly and courteous. We're going to be alert to needs. We're going to take care of them as soon as possible. We realize that they are the ones we answer to, our residents. We always keep that in mind.
I had a question to you that is a little bit simpler than the rest of the questions. It's not related to property or business or money. Sam, what is the best thing that happened to you this week?
My granddaughter turned 2 today, one of my granddaughters. Her birthday's today. And, of course, she's got me wrapped around her little finger. And I have 5 granddaughters and 2 grandsons. And she's the second youngest. She has a sister who's 2.5 months old. So that's the happiest thing. And her party's tomorrow.
Oh, well, happy birthday.
Yeah.
Happy birthday to her. And what is your biggest fear?
I'm not afraid of many things. In fact, I think that's one of the things you need to do what we do. You have to be able to handle risk. So I don't worry about a lot of things. I sleep well at night. I don't take the work home with me. I leave it at the office. I would say right now, a little bit of fear for the economy. I think what's happening right now could lead us into a recession that could be worse than the one in 08 and 09. I hope not, because we went through that and it was not fun. We survived, obviously, and we'll survive this one. But it's hard on people who don't have a lot. It's hard on homeowners who lose their home. It's hard on construction workers who lose their jobs because nobody's building a home. When interest rates are up where they are now, most people can't afford to build a home. They can't even afford to buy a home. So homes can't be sold. Homes can't be built. So what happens? There's a shortage. And interesting thing about it, in 09, people didn't move to another place. They moved in with mom and dad because they couldn't afford to pay their rent.
We mentioned a little bit about your origin family. And do you know which generation of immigrants are you?
Oh, my goodness, I'd have to count it up. But if you count from the late 1600s on till now, if you have 5 generations a century, let's see, that would be 5 generations in the 1700s, 5 in the 1800s, and 5 in the 1900s, something like that. So I'd have to be like 16th, 17th generation, something like that.
Wow. And you mentioned that your original family is from Great Britain, mostly.
Oh, yes. UK, definitely.
Yes.
I mean, so it's very much stiff upper lip. Don't let your feelings show in public of all things. You just keep that stiff upper lip.
Our family, the first Coryell born in this country in our line, was born in 1632. Now, we don't know exactly where they came from. My dad told me that we were Dutch, that we were from Holland, the Netherlands. And the name Coryell, however, could be French. You know, if you put an E on it, it looks more like a French. So I really don't know, but I do know that my grandfather 7 times back was Abraham Coryell. Yeah, how interesting is that? 4 sons, Abraham Jr., Emmanuel, David, and Samuel. And guess which line I come from?
Yes, Samuel. Absolutely. That's so interesting. So how far, you said you only know from the 16...
We only could go back to the first Coryell that was here, and they were in the Northeast. We can't get across the pond. And I think the reason is a lot of records got destroyed during 2 world wars. You had the World War I, World War II, and of course, the Netherlands were occupied by the German army, and a lot of those sorts of things just disappeared at libraries. And so it's just hard. Now, I went on Amazon, actually my son Sam did, and we went all the way back to Abraham Coryell, but we can't go beyond that.
So they were coming here for their American dream, and that's the main concept and topic of this podcast. And I am honestly dying to know what you think about this concept. What is American dream?
I think an American dream is achieving the dream that God puts in your heart, to know that you can, not to put limitations on yourself, because it's very, very easy to think, well, I'm too young, I'm too old, I haven't had enough opportunities, I haven't had enough education. You can think of all of these limits. So you have to take those limits off, and your dream can grow. Oh my goodness, that's so true. I never dreamed as a young person that we would be as successful in business as we are. And when you achieve this amount, then you think, well, maybe we could do more. So that's definitely the way it's been, and I expect it to continue to.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Do you have an American dream?
2 dreams. I have, for our business, TLC, I want to see us grow. I want to see us stay with our basic beliefs, our motto. That old thing about your children and then your grandchildren, and I really want to see us stay with, and I know Sam mentioned in the book, the Golden Rule, mm-hmm. that is important to us, and that we are a biblically based company. So I want to see us stay with that. I want to see my grandchildren, and maybe my great-grandchildren, live that out too, that they keep their heads straight, their belief system straight, their values, that they continue the values that we have subscribed to and that we think is a part. It's the heart of who we are as a company.
Mm-hmm. So to finish this off, Sam, what does the word home means to you?
Oh, that's a good one. I think of my parents, and I had 6 brothers and sisters. There were 7 of us. And although we only had 1 bathroom, and I had 4 sisters, 1 bathroom with 4 sisters is not good for the guy. Mm-hmm. Now, luckily, I was an athlete at school, so I could shower there. But home was like Christmas time and mm-hmm. and eating around the dinner table together and talking about our days. And then on Sunday afternoon, we didn't have TV, so we would gather around the piano and sing. My dad played piano, my sisters played piano, and they would play and we would sing. And that was what we did. And we would almost always have guests on Sunday that would come and have dinner with us. Mm-hmm. Friends, relatives. And then home is family. I think of my growing up and how comforting home was. What does it be? It ever so humble. There's no place like home. Mm-hmm. And when I travel now a little bit, I get home, it's, home. Mm-hmm. It's comfort. It's like an old pair of slippers that you keep. They're ugly. I've got these house shoes that my wife wants to throw away. I said, no, those are comfortable. I think I've had them literally 40 years. They look terrible.
Wow. But it's home.
It's home, and it's comfort. It's there's a lot to it. Mm-hmm. And now I have my family, and my family has families. My sons are all married. They have children. Now they have their homes. It's a cycle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's beautiful. Sam?
Home is where the heart is. I heard that one time, and I thought that was really good.
Home is where the heart is.
Where the heart is.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. I agree with that. Thank you so much, Sam and Carol, for visiting me for the last episode of the American Dream Podcast Season 3. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and like us on Facebook at Podcast TID, and stay tuned.